Welcome back, Wolfpack. And today we're going to talk about KSI. Now, I started watching KSI when I was about 15 years old, and the other side, man. But we're going to get into this controversy real quick. So, why are people turning on KSI again? Well, I've been saying for years, he's really ego driven, and you can see that with him surrounding himself by the side man. If you don't know them, they're this popular group over there in London, England. They're kind of like the British Team 10, if you remember them. But with that being said, why is everybody turning against KSI? And I think we have to look back to what Deji said about him. If you don't know who that is, that's Comedy Shorts Gamer, his younger brother. We got to look back to what he said about his brother KSI. Now, there were reports of bullying and other family affairs, which led to a couple of diss tracks being thrown at each other. Now, I remember a lot of people were actually making fun of Deji, calling him sensitive and emotional for even calling this out about KSI being this ego driven and bully towards his co workers and even his brother. But with that being said, going back a few years and looking at that video, a lot of people are starting to see that Deji was telling the truth and that KSI is this ego driven bully and he gets his feelings hurt very easily. And apparently, he also refuses, to grow up and accept criticism. Now, there's a difference between bullying and criticism, but it looks like with KSI, he's just getting criticism by the looks of it, and it looks like he also has to surround himself, with his side group, his group of married men, which I find funny if the others have a relationship, except him. I'm not talking about that right now. But the one thing that really made me turn against him was him siding with Logan Paul, another scumbag of the internet, but I'll talk about him later. And everyone's favorite capitalist, Mr. Beast, and their failed product, Lunchly and Prime. Now, when it comes to talking about the failure of the Prime Energy drink and how they tried so hard to promote that, first of all, it's going to be a failure anyway, because the three people who are the most unlikely to team up, Logan Paul, who already has a record of controversies behind him, and then Mr. Beast, who was also exposed for treating his coworkers like trash. And then there's KSL, the man with the biggest ego on the internet. And the sad thing is, he refuses to grow up and actually take responsibility for the actions that he did, including bullying some of his coworkers. Vic Star is one of them. Besides that, him treating his brother poorly in the past. And I think I've seen the video where he told us that Deji was enjoying it, but I highly doubt it. I think Deji was just playing along with it. I'm not entirely defending him either. But besides that, even his music videos that he made, I'm gonna be honest, I enjoyed some of them, but most of them were pretty bad. Especially the one that he made recently with Trippy Red. That got memed on and clowned on. Now look how he responded to that, which is why I gotta say, this is what happens when you let your ego continue to grow. And KSI, while he's funny and he still makes good videos every now and then, a lot of people are starting to see through his fake character that he puts on screen. I'm sure off screen, I'm sure he shows his true colors. I'm sure he's a dickhead to his friends. And besides that, I also like to point out he gets very jealous when his friends get more views than him. That's why he's on these podcasts talking about how he wants to surpass Speed, or I Show Speed. If you don't know him, look him up. I'm sure most of you know who that is. And Mr. Beast in viewership, which I find laughable because I think it's too late for that, especially with all the controversy that he's been receiving lately. But with all that being said, what are my final thoughts on this? I think that KSI should just own up to the criticism that he's been receiving, apologize to his brother, the way he's been treating him and his co-workers, and stop siding yourself with other ego-driven maniacs like Logan Paul and Mr. Beast. But with that being said, what are your thoughts on KSI? You guys still think he's cool? You still watch his videos? So I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't seen the Sideman video in like 2 years. And I don't really keep up with KSI drama or any drama related to that and their issues. But it's just something I have to talk about because I don't see it getting better. And if you ask me, I think KSI is going to keep getting worse. But with that being said, let me know what you think in the comments. This is the leader of your Wolfpack, signing out.